We're still waiting for people to continue to join. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to call. Yes. And let's give it a few more minutes for people to continue to join.
Yeah, in the meantime, I use this time to add some picture to my presentation.
Super.
Serov is here. I can see him.
Oh, hi, sir.
Hello. I just to look on you. Только полюбоваться на вас, у меня не так много времени.
Сереж, привет.
Привет, вы молодцы, здорово придумали.
Рад тебя видеть всегда, да, в любом формате, в виде писем, в виде картинки, в виде внеитевского списка. Я тут пока могу показать Леонардо в 2008 году. Сейчас, правда, что-то тормозит у меня.
А мы уже видим.
Видим? Ага. У меня он еще не появился. Оп, нет, куда-то исчез. Появится, да, надеюсь. Не буду мучить компьютер.
Нет, а мы видели уже в маленьких превьюшках, как Леонардо сидит на стуле Маяковского и с домашними.
Да.
Все это было видно.
Как он сказал, что раз в 10 лет он появляется в Москве.
Это был какой год?
Ну, это был 2008, а потом был 2018.
We need to wait until 2028.
Это очень долго.
No, I'd like to come before.
Maybe we shall begin, Oksana. What do you think?
Да.
Okay, we can start now. First, some rules. We are going to listen to our speaker first, yes, and then our guest will be open to Q&A for over 20 minutes. Did you get it? What I said?
Да, мы будем соблюдать правила. Хорошо.
Good. We have a special guest today. As I said earlier, I'm super excited to see him here on the call. And great thanks to Katharina for the opportunity to meet him virtually. He's a graphic designer, a teacher, and a lecturer. He was included in the list of the 100 most important and innovative graphic designers in the world in 2004. He's living and running his office, Studio Leonardo Sonnoli, in Rimini, Italy. We have Leonardo Sonnoli on the call. Welcome, Leonardo. You can start showing your slides.
Okay, I have to share my screen, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
We
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you for your invitation. Hello, everybody. I start immediately the presentation. Of course, it's a pleasure to present, to be in touch with you, with Russian students, and even if I prefer to be, I would prefer to be there and not in my office now. But anyway, the idea behind my presentation here that show some recent works that are mainly so-called typographic, is that my work is not really typographic, because probably it's more close to calligraphy. Calligraphy is something that I never did as we intend and as we know the idea of calligraphy, something made by hand, made by a brush or something like that. But reflecting in the recent years about my work, I think that the work that I usually do is closer to calligraphy as sense than to typography. This is the reason why I, in a sort of provocative way, I call my introduction, my speech as a constructivist calligraphy. That seems something very, very strange. It's okay. I go in English without translation. It's okay for you?
Yes.
Okay.
We understood everything.
So this is what we intend usually: typography versus calligraphy, something very different, something in opposition. But thinking to the real meaning about typography and calligraphy, we know that there are two words that come, the roots of the words come from the Greek. Typo come from typos, that means matrix, footprint, something that is always the same repetition of the same typo, the same type of things. Kalos, instead, that is the root of calligraphy, means beauty, that we could intend as the beauty in a composition of letter. My work is usually based on letters, but even if I repeat the same shape of letter, really often in the composition of letter, I change a little bit the shape. I connect two letters always in different way with different ligatures and so on. And this is the reason why I think that the work made in this way is closer to calligraphy. Even if my beginning of work with letters when I was a student many years ago, the beginning was really inspired, is still inspired by the master of the revolution in typography, as we call now. We know this master like Rodchenko and Stepanova, and then Ssylki, all the Russian constructivism, but then also the Bauhaus experiment, and in Italy the Futurism and so on. We even if there are many differences among the different authors, we know this. We call this as the starting of typography. And when we see all these famous example, and when I started looking at this example as something to follow, a way that someone many years ago before me, traces this way, but it was something to follow and to remade in a contemporary way. And the idea student was that this was all rigid, all typographic. But it was a visit in 2008, a visit that was really something. One of the most important experiences I had in my professional life was the visit in Lavrentiev home that was so kind and so generous, not only to give me the chair of the Mayakovsky chair that was so a joke now here, but was so kind to show me something that was not easy to see in an exhibition. It's not so easy to see but was not also to know and to discuss about it. And something that that caught my attention mainly was this yes, the catalog made by hand, the catalog of the very famous exhibition 5x5. And when I see the original things, I was really shocked, because in my idea, the work of my heroes, Stepanov and Rodchenko, was all very rigid, all very geometric. And when I saw this, I found exactly the same spirit, the same composition, made by hand. And this pushed me to think more in deep to the real meaning of that revolution in the artistic and graphic expression. And the step I had was to look at all this kind of composition in the similar, if I remember well, it's more or less the same year. That was the Rodchenko composition. This we could consider more typographic, but it's not. Is also here the letters, even if designed not by brush but by in a different way, in a more precise way, is not typographic. Each letter is related to the other letters in a specific way. It's not a repetition of the same letter. And this was something that pushed me to think a lot about my work and the idea that probably I'm more following this kind of research. I'm looking for the beauty in the composition, modifying the letter, the shape of the letters, even if starting from a prototype of letter. And this is more connected with calligraphy and not with typography, that is always the same shape repeated. So this is the more or less the theoretical things that I'm so that it's a thought that I'm doing in the recent years about my work. Now I show you some my typographic, so-called typographic posters that are sometimes typographic. Very often it's more calligraphic, but in a more constructivist way of calligraphy. This is quite recent. I designed this poster to explain this idea. It's called Constructivist Calligraphy. It's written Constructivist Calligraphy. The readability is not a problem. It's not a matter of it's not the goal of my composition. The goal of my composition and the goal of the designing the letters is looking for the extreme limit to recognize a letter. Sometimes it's possible to go over also. But it's always interesting to work on the limit of the recognizability of the letter. This was made for a lecture that I did in Paris 2 years ago. And this is also a theoretical reflection for a poster, always for a speech that I did. This is an attempt to design an alphabet with 26 glyphs that don't recognize, that you don't recognize, that you cannot recognize as letter. It's 26. It's a very difficult exercise to design 26 signs that it's not possible to recognize as letter. This starts from an essay that I read about by Roland Barthes that say a letter doesn't resemble anything. That is very interesting as a reflection. Okay, this is a poster dedicated to Mayakovsky. And of course, this kind of puppet come from a drawing, a Mayakovsky drawing for the theater, for the scenography of theater. This is a poster about the 100 years foundation of both Bauhaus and Wuchtemass, the two main important school they started with the idea of design. That was the first time that someone taught art with the idea of total art. Yeah, the most funny thing, or the most important things that in the poster part of the design is to look for similar shape in Cyrillic and in the Latin typeface. Oh, this is also a poster about a design exhibition. It was a young design exhibition they called Salone Satellite. And all letter is made with the idea of pieces of mechanic things, of objects. This is very abstract, but in a way remind to an alphabet, because as the request of it was an exhibition of poster, an invitation poster exhibition asking to show the way of process to design, and this is a sort of alphabet, abstract alphabet about my design process. This is about a lecture that I did in London about Italian design. It is called, it's written a quite famous, so Italian word is amore. But it reminds also an Italian poster of the 60s made by an Italian master of design that did this poster with the word amore. Oh, this is a poster that I show in Moscow, only in Moscow, in 2008. The theme was the line, but I am still not proud, but interested in the solution that I found for this poster, because it's a poster made by two posters. And you can read the text only putting this poster in connection. Apart the meaning about the line that crossing the border, that is crossing the borders, the idea was that also in how to design a poster, going over the limit of the poster. And this is very similar in the approach. Of course, this both come from the experience of the artist, Italian artist Lucio Fontana, and the spatialism. So the attempt to go over the canvas, the table of over the painting, and also this poster this is about for a city that's called Matera, a city in Italy, very famous for these houses engraved in the stones. I designed a poster with holes. The letter are, as you can see, holes cutted in the paper. It's a way to go over the two dimension of the poster. This is a tribute to one of the most important Italian designer called Enzo Mari. died past year. The award it's a tribute to his poster of the 60s when he wrote shit in a poster. So and I wrote shit in this poster, merda in Italian, but with a very refined letters, very baroque letters. That is exactly the contrary. The content is about aesthetic and ethic in the design. Okay, this is very clear, and nothing to say. I write it in bold. It's a reflection about how much easy is to be senseless in typographic composition. When writing a love letter, I don't think about letters. It's always like the poster before about how important is the meaning of the message instead of the shape, the form of the message, and how important is to give the right form, the right shape to the message. This is a tribute to a futurist artist called De Pero. You can read here so many letters, so many fonts, so little to say about, of course, of the millions of fonts that we can find everywhere in the web, but really often fonts without any beauty, any sense. This is a reflection about our life with the ticket, with the supermarket ticket, with the number. I don't know if you have in Russia, probably to stay in the queue. You take the ticket, and the ticket is always the wrong number. So, and I hope that sometimes could be now the most lucky, or the most unlucky with never your turn. Okay, this is so a very messy gallery of my approach in this kind of calligraphic constructivist. Now I show you some more defined work with some that is how to develop the identity for an exhibition. This is quite a recent exhibition about design, about the project of the important Italian designer. So not the final result, the final object, but all the sketches and the drawing before the object. The title of the exhibition was Design. I started from the work of one designer exhibited in the show that is Enzo Mari, the designer that I quoted before. He designed many different things with a very rational approach, but also with very strong ideas. And he started with this as an artist involved in the so-called programmed art. That was an art that came from the programmation of numbers and shapes. So this was the approach. I repeat, I develop a grid with circle, with module, and on this grid I design the letters, all in alphabet, to write the title design. But also I took from these letters also the modules, and I use also in the communication the other part. This was some post in Instagram or Facebook, and so on. This is all the sketches to design all the letters from that grid. This was the very beautiful place in the northern part of Italy, where the exhibition is still open. And this is inside. I designed also the exhibition. You see all these flags with the name of the designer, and the rack with the drawing inside that have these magnetic shapes with the name and with the caption of the drawing inside. Also, the captions are designed on this module of the circle. And this is the rack that was possible. It's possible to open the rack and to look at the drawing side. Okay, this is a work that I am not finished. It's quite finished during this day. I'm working for. I has been invited in an exhibition that is a tribute to one of the most important futurist artists, called Giacomo Balla. And inspired by his works, especially he is very famous as painter, but I discovered studying his work, I discovered that he worked also in drawing something, but with words and with letters. And it's very interesting, the play on word that he did. Starting from this, I am designing during these days. I'm designing a series of posters about it, but with one subject, I'm designing a carpet. This was the idea of applied art with our work, also with calligraphy, with the typography. It's nice to develop in many other media. The title of this is Reading Nothing, in Italian, leggere niente. I use the word nothing, in Italian, niente, and I did a composition. Something wrong? No, okay. I'm going on. Okay, so can you read me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, completely.
Okay, I'm going on. So the plain word is that if I write nothing, you read nothing, and it's a sort of a joke. But of course, my word nothing is composed in a way that it's really, really difficult to read nothing. And this was the result, the composition. It's N-I-E-N-T-E. And this is the few days ago, I received the video from Sardinia, from the region, Italian region, where they are very famous in textile and doing carpets. That is very, very amazing. This was a picture that I received, and I hope in few days to get the final carpet. That is really, really so amazing to instead that to print on paper, to made in wool. Okay, this is another graphic for an exhibition that is interesting for the material used, because the letters change meaning, also changing materials. The exhibition was made in a very amazing place in Rome, in a Roman bath, in an old Roman bath. And the exhibition was about primitivism, the sculpture, the primitivist sculpture in the 20th century. It's all these artists inspired by the primitive people. I started with the idea for the main idea of the communication of the exhibition. I started from two very big masters in art and design. One was Max Bill. When he was really young, he was I think about 23 years old or something like that. He designed this beautiful, in 1931, he designed this really beautiful poster for a nigger art exhibition. He didn't use a picture of the exhibition, a picture of the sculpture, but he translate in an abstract form the main meaning of this sculpture, to look for, that was the looking for the extreme simplicity, extreme minimalist sign to express an idea. The other master that was I was obliged to follow was Brancusi, that was really inspired by primitivist sculptures. And with the idea, mainly with this famous sculpture with a never ending column. This was the first sketch that I did, with the idea of a shape that it was possible to reply, and these two dots in metal, printed in metal, or to do in metal. And beside this, some picture of the exhibition. This was the sketches, and this was the realized work. This was the cover, the back cover, and the spine of the catalog. You see that there is printed in black, but also in hot foil metal, printed the dots. It's inside the catalog is very complicated, very big, a lot of picture, a lot of different things, essay, catalogs, and so on, the anthologies. This is the outside the exhibition. I designed also this sort of column that there was a sort of signage system for the people to look to find the entrance of the exhibition. And this was the entrance of the exhibition. I designed also this structure. That was an introduction of the themes of the exhibition, with the text, the quotation of famous text, and photos. And I use different materials. As I told you before, the material is really important. It's not a matter only to typographic composition. This was the sort of main communication, the entrance. You see the wall is in concrete, the letters in iron, and the disc in copper. And here the text is printed directly printed on iron, and the photos directly printed on wood. And you see also the texture of the wood and the texture of the iron. So you see the texture of the wood. Okay, inside the exhibition, I designed it with an architect, together with an architect, very good architect. This was all the sculptures, and the exhibition was divided in 5 or 6 sections. Each section had a sort of wall with the number of the section and the text in Italian and in English, with the introduction of the theme of the different theme of the section. This is very interesting, the possibility to print digital printing on any kind of surface. Okay, this is another exhibition that I did a few months ago. It's still open. Open or closed, it depends by the COVID. It's called Spirits, Spiriti, that means ghost. And it's the work of 8 photographers on an architect. These 8 photographers did the work, photographic work, on few buildings made by this famous Italian architect of the last century. This was just a little animation, a very abstract communication for the exhibition that was all composition is very simple, but all is based on the golden section. All the proportion is based on the golden section, because this exhibition is not only about these architects, but it's the special thing is that the exhibition is inside one of the most important buildings, Renaissance building in Italy. And this is the architectural relation between the Renaissance architecture, the Giancarlo De Caro, that was this famous architect, but also with this architect that designed the exhibition, that in this way, all these things, all these walls has been designed by this architect. It's called Gianni Pilindeu. It's a very, very good architect. Inside the Renaissance spaces about the architects. It's a very dialogue between 3 architectures. And we design all the graphic inside together with the architects. This long wood signs with the name of the photographer. This was the entrance wall with the name, letters cut in iron, then folded, all the text on wood or on iron, on other materials, the book with the presentation of the book on wood, and so on. This is another exhibition on the Triennale. It's called Stories. It's an exhibition about Italian design. And the idea of a museum of design, it's something very strange and interesting from one side. On the other side, it's very interesting because it's a museum this was an exhibition, but of course it represents the idea of an ideal design museum. And the design is about everyday object, usually. And when we put this everyday object in a museum, this object change completely their status, becoming an absolute object, sort of prototype, point of reference. Is no more an everyday object, and this is something very metaphysical. With the same object outside or inside the museum have completely different meaning. And this idea of this metaphysical object suggested me to design a sort of little scenography, ideal scenography of a stage, when this object are part of this stage. And all these objects are the famous icons of the Italian design of the 20th century. All this kind of illustration has been applied in all the part of the museum. There was a catalog inspired by dedicated to one of these famous designer that many years ago designed this kind of book inside a box, and the box became the cover and so on. It's a very interesting project. This is inside the catalog, sort of guide of 100 years of the Italian design. This is the inside the exhibition where I design all the captions, the system of captions of that tell the stories of these objects. This was the entrance. As you can see, the graphic was became also the part of the exhibitions, and I designed also the entrance that was a sort of city street with neons, signs. And I designed also a part of the exhibition. Another exhibition that we designed as office was a series, this and the other that probably I will show you later, exhibition about famous Italian women artists. One is Giusetta Fioroni. We started from the typographic work of the old catalog of the 60s, old catalogs and posters announcing the exhibition of the Giusetta Fioroni, the artist. We redraw the letters, these very narrow letters, and we compose in different way the title, the name and the title is Giusetta Fioroni, Sentimental Journey is the title. And then we wanted to draw a sort of pattern to characterize all the communication, and we started from these sketches of the artist. The artist is still alive, is very old women, but still so working. And we found these black and white drawings with black and white photos. It was the dress for an opera, and I was really really surprised by this very interesting approach to dress for an opera. And I redesigned in this way this pattern for the communication, and I show her I showed the artist the pattern, and he answered me with a redesign the pattern. It was really interesting because I was only material in black and white, also the photo. I didn't know exactly the colors, the right colors. And so it was a really nice dialogue with this old artist that sent me by phone the photos. He drew in the studio, and he took picture with the phone and sent me by phone the picture. And I redesigned the pattern on her indication, and it was the book. The book have also a little hole on the cover, as you see. All the book is have this hole because it reminds a very famous work of her. That was a room, an actual room with a lady inside, and you could spy the ladies through the hole on the wall. You can see on the left bottom a person looking inside the wall, and on the right and the bottom you can see what was possible to see in the hole. This is the reason why I did this book with this hole. And the hole is going through the catalog, but never destroying the text of the picture. This was a part of the exhibition. The structure has been designed by a very good architect, Italian architect called Massimo Curzi, and the idea was to rebuild an ideal artist office with this wood panel, and we printed all the information on the wood. This was the entrance of the exhibition through a very narrow corridor, and we decorated the corridor with this pattern. And this was the exhibition, and it was interesting, the idea to put the caption not just on the wall, but in a horizontal way. It was possible to read only going closer to the painting. The exhibition was held in Milan, just in front of the dome of Milan, and the building have these windows, and we covered the windows with some picture of the artist when he was younger, and the pattern of the exhibition. In the same place, last year we did an exhibition about Carla Accardi, another very famous, internationally renowned artist, Italian artist. We started from his work, of course, and this work is really interesting. With have a strong relation with sign and lights, also the sign of the light. We find also this picture, interesting picture on the left, that he did in the 50s, that a photographer in Sicily did of her, painting with the lights. Really similar to the most famous photos of the year before, made by a photographer of Picasso, painting with the lights. For this reason, our approach here in the office was to design something with the lights, and we started with this experimental sketches. This was the first sketches that we did, moving the word Accardi, the word, her name, her family name. It was interesting to see the signs that the lights left moving. No? Not only the letters, but the shadow around the letters. And we we took out from this experimental little movie that we did. We took out some stills, some screenshot, and we use it in the communication. We use it in the poster, outside the exhibition, inside the exhibition, as an entrance wall, and so on. So together with sometimes together putting, as you can see up right, putting in relation some detail, very close detail of her work with our sort of calligraphic light work. In the same place, the year before, we designed an exhibition for Filippo De Pisis, very famous Italian painter. This was an example of his painting about probably between 30s and 50s. It was interesting. I like very much his paintings, and it was interesting to see also his signature in the. You can see the signature on the corner, left corner, at the bottom. Here, the same left corner. That is made with only, of course, with brush, designing the S in very fast way. And the color palette is also incredible. It's very, very nice. And the idea, it was interesting that he wanted to do the writer, not the painter. And the writing was really interesting for him. This was a research about all the different signature that he did in the paintings. This is a research of the colors that he used, the main colors that he used. This attempt to imitate these little dots, little signs that he used to rebuild a picture. And it was the logo that with different colors that we designed, different composition. And the idea that he was really interested in decoration also. We designed also sort of wallpaper. And it was what we realized in the entrance of the exhibition, outside the exhibition, and inside the exhibition. Before to enter, there was the text explaining the contents, explaining the biography, few photos, together with the sort of wallpaper, pieces of wallpaper imitating a home in the 20s, in the 30s in Italy. We use paper to hang on the wall to write the text. Paper because it was so interesting to work with this, the material that he wanted to use to write, and we designed also a little room with many quotation of this artist. It was a sort of reading room where in this room was possible also to take off some phrases. You see here in the on the left bottom part of the picture, there was the sort of block of sheets that was possible to take one as souvenir. Yes. how many minutes I can speak on? I can go on because it's 1 p.m.
Yes.
now. I cannot. You don't have the microphone, Alexander.
Yes. Yes. You are absolutely free with time. As soon as you get tired, you can.
Okay. This is completely different work. It's just a calendar. I was asked a printing company to design a calendar. And usually the calendars made by, at least in Italy, the calendar made by printers are quite ugly because they want to show how good they are to print photos and picture in colors with 12 different colors and so on. I proposed to design a calendar, very simple calendar with kind of tear-off calendars when every day you tear off a page, but was not possible because it was too expensive to print so many calendars with this tear-off system. So I proposed to use a weekly tear-off, not a daily tear-off calendar. This was the final result. I draw the numbers, and I design week by week of 52 weeks all the pages of the calendar. You see, it's bounded with Singer binding. It's called in the not glue. You can see up in the upper part. The paper was really thin, very transparent, really light, because I wanted to see also the page under the other pages. To let the idea of the classical tear-off calendar, but also the idea of the time that is going on. And it's nice because these numbers was possible to combine in different way. So the design of is always different. The design of the week. Even if you have the same numbers, the composition of the numbers is always different. You see here. And also here the ligature and the number is always the same, but the composition suggests different ligatures. Sometimes there are the number 2 going inside the number 3 or the number 5, or connecting with the other numbers in always different way, and so on. The alignment between the numbers is always different, and so on. Again, about the idea that even if we as graphic designer are two-dimensional designers, the idea to work with different materials and not only with paper is very exciting in my opinion, because the meaning of our design changed completely, changing the material. I show you before the carpet, and this is another things that I produce for a company that asked me to design a system, a modular system to cover floor and wall using iron, copper, or brass, so metal materials. These are a few sketches, the first sketches. The attempt was to have just few modules using different materials to have a completely random composition. You see in the upper part, you see this little square are the module, different modules. Under the modules, you see one of the possibility to have a random composition. This was one way. This was another one way. For example, here it was possible to have all three modules: a module with a dot, a module with a line, and a module without any other thing. Or at least it's possible to use just a module with one dot. But the random composition is always different. It's very, very moving. It's not very static. Absolutely, it's not static, even if you use just one module. The different color represent different material, or for example, the green one is intended in brass, but not clean brass, but with the oxide of brass. And this is the final result in an exhibition, in a fair. They choose the two work. And you see here, it's possible to see that the copper of the brass that is put inside the iron is a little bit higher, is a little bit thicker. This because if you have a floor with this, you don't slip on this. Okay. This could be the last work that I can show you because it's quite long. I'm working since 10 years for the Pinot collection in Venice. And beside the work of the exhibition, they organize usually 2 or 3 exhibitions a year. Sometimes I'm working for the exhibition, also for the graphic for the exhibition, sometimes not. It depends by the kind of the exhibition. But I'm following mainly the communication of all the events, because beside the exhibition, they organize lectures or performances and so on. I design also, I redesign also the logotype. The Pinot collection have 2 main places in Venice, 2 main venues in Venice. One is Palazzo Grassi, that is this one. Another one is the Punta della Dogana, that is this big triangle buildings that you can see on the left. The 2 buildings are on the main of the big canal, the Canal Grande, so called. One on one side and the other one on the other side. And both 2 are mirrored in the water. So the idea was to design a very, very simple logotype, but with the idea that if I have Punta della Dogana, that is the name of the one venue, and Palazzo Grassi, the name of the other venue, they are on 2 sides of the canal and mirrored on the water. So this was the idea of the logotype, and this was the final logotype. During these days, we are changing the logotype for a question that I don't explain you, that's too long. But we are changing the typeface. But the idea is to use both, to use Punta della Dogana and Palazzo Grassi. This logotype is very simple also because we have to apply the logotype in very different communication. And this is a part For example, this is a catalog made by the artist by himself, Damien Hirst. So we didn't work on this just in part. This is a work of my work instead, the communication of the main activity, the different performances and so on. This is the idea of how it's possible to work with this logotype. This is the shorter version of the logotype for all the social network. And this is a series of flyer, poster, little poster, and all this interpretation, typographic interpretation that then has been printed. We do usually the animation, but we also print we have the version, animated version and printed version, a series of lectures, a museum, a series of concerts of contemporary music, a series of lecture by artists, a series of movies, performances, dance and music performance. This setup is 2 or 3 nights with DJ set and music performances. This was the year after setup. Communication about archives, a series of lectures about the archives, a lecture by David Lynch, a series of folder and brochure about the activities. All this communication is about is written teatrino, that means small theater, little theater. That is the name of the venue in Palazzo Grassi. There is this little theater where they organize all these things. And ideally every 3-4 months, I changed the logotype. This was the season greetings. And it's all. Yeah, I think it's enough for today. This is lunchtime also for you.
Yes, thank you, Leonardo. We could listen for you on hours because every project is like an investigation and adventure. And you showed us the way you are finding your path through this adventure. And it's really very generous because it's something that is always discovered, the story of the work, the actual project.
Yeah, the story is always a sort of relationship with the past. As I introduce my work, I think that the knowledge of the past is a very good tool to design.
Thank you. Как вопросы есть? У нас Оксана.
Okay.
У нас созрели для вопросов. We'll maybe wait for some
Thank you for being with us today. It's time for Q&A. Maybe our participants want to ask something.
У меня вопрос, а можно будет запись получить? А то я самое интересное, я так понял, пропустил.
Да, конечно, будет.
Спасибо большое. А еще я хотел сказать, что I have your diploma of Rodchenko Award.
Oh, Oh,
And
that's
welcome
great.
to Moscow.
It's a great news.
Hand of Alexander, of course. Thank you very much. Спасибо, пожалуйста, за эту возможность. Благодарю вас.
Thank you. So, any question? Nothing. Everybody's starving, probably.
No, Leonardo. For me, I think for everybody, your work is a piece of fantastic and elegant taste of profession. It's something that maybe our students eager to achieve sometime, somehow. It's I think it's an elegant level of contemporary graphic design. It's and for
you.
this we appreciate you very much, and also it's incredible to see to hear about the ideas of all of your projects, that you share it for everybody. We are diving into your mind, into your way of thinking, and it really opens for us your work, because we see not only the piece of paper or the brilliant space of the exhibition, but we see how your line of thinking went, how you managed to make it, what bothered you, for what points of artists' work did you put your attention, and for me it's another thing that that I appreciate very much. When I look at your work, for me it's incredible that on one side they are simple, but on the other side they are very deep. It's something.
Oh, thank you very much. You are very, very kind and very generous.
No, it's absolutely true, because what is fascinating, how you give typographics an emotional sense, and you opened up your secret that it is calligraphy in your thinking, in your understanding of calligraphy as an emotional way of giving information that gives new dimension to typography. This understanding of calligraphy in a very wide sense, that any activity with lettering is really a calligraphy. Even when we speak, when we announce something, when we give it high or low tones in speech, it's the same way of treating lettering, sounds, and you give this understanding to your typographic things. Because there is a secret for me. How do you achieve this emotional sense of typography? Do you speak it inside yourself when you just find appropriate typeface for any kind of a message? It's something that I cannot really understand, but it comes very natural. Especially, it was very clear when you showed us this story of this fashion designer who did clothing for the opera, because these high, long letters, they fit absolutely into her theatrical activity. They were like actors on the scene. So it's amazing.
So it wasn't a Q&A session, it was a compliment session. Leonardo.
Yeah, I'm quite embarrassed.
Everyone is writing. Thank you for the lecture. It was interesting and insightful. And there is one question: what kind of music helps you in your work?
What kind of
music?
Music.
Yes.
music? Oh, Unfortunately, during the day, I don't have enough time to listen music. But okay, I'm listening often Italian rap, Italian hip hop. I'm fascinated by the Italian hip hop, also because they, not only for the rhythm, for the music, of course, there are the music interesting, but also because they work with the words, with the sound of words. Hip hop work a lot with the rap. It's a sort of so it's based on the word, of the sound of the word. And because I'm fascinated by the letters, by the alphabet, by the words, I'm really fascinated also by the sound of the words. When some words have the same sound of another one, and so on. This is the reason why I like also to listen hip hop or rap, or Italian mainly, but also there are few American hip hop singer that I like. But also I'm on the other side, I'm listening few playlists that a friend of mine gave me since when we were a teenager. This my friend, we are now working in 2 different cities, but since we were teenager, he gave me this tape with the contemporary things, usually rock or other kind of music, and I trust in him, and I listen always his playlist, but of course I don't remember any name, or I'm just listening. Then it's funny because when I look at this very old tape that have 30, 35 years old, this tape that I received from him about very strange singer or bands. Now I discovered that these strange singers or band became very, very famous then in the years. But at that time I didn't know them. That means that I listen hip hop or rap because I like the music in the words, and I listen any kind of music new to discover. I'm very curious.
Thank you. There is also another question. What is the most important thing in working with a client, and how do you decide what project you want to take on?
I don't know. The most important thing of the client, I don't know if there are few important things. On one side, one very important thing is that the client choose you and not the contrary. Because if it's the client that chooses you, means that he trusts in your work. And it's a very good starting point. You don't have to convince him or her that you are good. That's very, very important. Then it's very important in the relationship with the client. I think that it's very important sometimes to say no. To say no, it's not possible to change it this way, or the answer when something is not going well, it's better to restart from zero than to add modification. I learned that there is always another good way to develop a project. If the first thing is not okay, is not accepted, instead to change the first idea, I prefer to restart from zero, to cancel the idea and to have another one. Another very important thing about the client is that, really important, is that the client, that is also client is a very bad word, because the client is someone that we have to consider to work with, not to work for. And when we work with someone, it's very important. That means that we have different roles. And the role of the client is, of course, to explain you which is the problem to solve, but also really important to explain you why your design is not working for him. That means that it's important that the client don't suggest you the different solution, but that explain you the reason why it's not working. Then the solution, you have to find the solution, not the client.
Thank you.
Thank you. There is another question about the implementation, realization of your ideas. Is it difficult to communicate with people of other professions who are also working with you? Because working on a space exhibition is a collaboration.
Yeah, I show you some example when we collaborated with very good architect and very open and available to collaborate. That's the first thing. I like to work. Of course, in the exhibition, there are two professions that have to merge. It's not possible to have two different roles. At certain point, we have together with the architect to choose the right material, the right position, and so on. This is very important that when we arrive at this limit, this border, we have to cross the border and he has to cross the border. We have to collaborate together. And it's very important to find an architect that understands this and it's open to collaborate in the respect of the roles, of course. I'm lucky that in the recent years I work with some very good architects and that understand perfectly the role that I have, and and I ask him and he for if my solution is good, and he asks me if his solution is good. So it's very interesting because the worst thing in an exhibition, in a space of an exhibition, is when the architect don't understand that one very important part of the exhibition is the communication. Really often the architect don't understand it. And they design just the space to put the object, the art object, and they don't care about the caption, the information in the room, the entrance, and so on. Instead, it's a very important part, and it's really important to work together to develop this.
Thank you. Thank you. It's another question about how
to make
about
progress.
improving, yes, everyone's level, professional level. How can a designer improve their work after university, or improve without a mentor? Is there a way to track your progress?
Okay. Each designer is different. I can answer for me. I think that one important way to improve the profession, because it's a real problem. The question is very clever. It's very clever, because one very big problem is that after the university, someone is starting to work and is no more or interested or have no more time to research and to experiment like he or she did at the university. This is very, the period in the university is really important. It's the period when someone have to experiment as much as possible. And after that, if the question is how is possible to improve the profession, one answer could be working 12 hours a day, at least, working a lot, because if you like this work, you have to work for professional, but also beside to have the time to experiment things. For example, the carpet that I show you is not something commissioned. Has been commissioned by a museum to develop this work, distribute to Giacomo Balla, and probably, I'm not sure now, but probably I will exhibit some poster and these words in an animation with a few screens. But because my idea was to do carpets, and the museum was didn't agree to exhibit carpets, I say, okay, the carpet, I pay for the carpet by myself, and I do it, and I try to do it, because it's a very interesting experiment, and then it's possible to use this experiment in another time. For example, the past week, we are working now for an exhibition of a important sculpture, Italian sculpture, that passed away a few years ago. In Sicily, there is a big exhibition, a very interesting exhibition about him. And he worked cutting the iron with also with some sheet, iron sheet, cutting this sheet, also with different material. Okay, I designed a logotype for this sculpture, and then I ask a person, I ask a sort of, it's not a friend, it's a person that I work with. I work with digital printing for the exhibitions. I asked him if it was possible to cut this logotype in iron to understand how it's possible. And so this is the cutted logotype is completely useless. I didn't do it for the exhibition. I pay by myself. I did it just because I'm passionate to do this kind of stupid things. But it's also quite cheap to do this. But the time that I spend to do it, and the money that I spend to do it, it's not just an expense money. It's an investment, because the next time I know that it's possible to do it, and I learn something. Also experimenting with my logotype in other materials and so on. So that's a way to be updated and also in different. For example, to do the carpet, I asked the color, which color was possible to use, and I received this. That's funny. This is not Pantone catalog, but I received this wool things, and I choose the color with a number written on by hand. But it's very fascinating. Also, the movie, the little movie that I show you with the lady doing the carpet is something that very excited. Then I don't know if my carpet will be nice, but I don't care. I know that it's could be important because it was something that I wanted to do. But why? Because in my because when I look at my masters, when I look at the Bauhaus work, the Wuchnemas work, you know, they experimented with letters, with metal. Moholy Nogi, the photographer, famous as photographer, he was teaching in the metal workshop. That's quite funny, the idea. And also they experiment with wool, with the tapestry. That's this idea that we can we have to be more open as possible. Then okay, I like iron wool, but someone like, for example, music, and so maybe it's possible to translate graphic in music. I don't know. That it depends by each person, each designer is different.
Thanks. The next question from Elena. Thank you very much, Maestro. May I ask you how much sketches and thoughts you usually create before you come to the right solution? You showed your sketches and called them first ones, but they were already very accurate. How long is this path usually?
Okay. It depends by the different works. The time, so it's really difficult to say how much time I spend to do a work, because time is a very important part of the design. I mean that when I start a work, I know that I have 1 week, 2 days, 1 year, and related to the time that I know that I can use, I work also with this in mind, because if I know that, for example, we received 2 days ago, we received the invitation for a competition for a music season, to design posters for a music season. The deadline is tomorrow night. This is a crazy and a stupid things, very bad organized. But I did in the beginning. I didn't want to. If I wanted to participate, then speaking with the other people in the office, we decided to participate or to try to participate. Of course, if we have only yesterday, we started to work yesterday. That is another things. I usually work on Saturday and Sunday. So we started to work yesterday, and we have to finish tomorrow. That means that I don't have time to sketch something. I have to work with something that I really know very well. That I really know which could be the result in so short time. That means sometimes also that I reuse something that I did in the past. I reuse the method, not exactly the same design, of course, but or reuse something that I did that was not accepted, or that I, for example, because I have very short time. So the time is a part of the design. This is my sketchbook, but okay, sometimes this is a sketch. This is no drawings. there is just some notes, something to that I write, something to remind, and then I directly start to work on the computer. Other times I start to design, because, for example, for sure, if I want to draw a letter, to draw a logotype, I need to sketch before by hand, because it's very difficult to start without an idea, a formal idea. I have something in mind, but or maybe here I don't have many other sketches, but are very bad sketches
perfectly
sketches of letters. This is the starting sketches for the letters of the carpet, for example. But it's very bad done. For example, it's more important this part than this one. This part is the phrases and the word that I wanted to use, like nothing, for example. Nothing was the word of design on the carpet. I work more with the idea. Or for example, yeah, maybe when I have to, we design many. This is a sketch. I print something on the, for example, I print a grid on computer, and then I start to sketch over this grid. I'm also working. I'm doing an identity of a place through phrases, through words, and this is the sketches. It's not graphic. It's about the words that I'd like to use. That means that really often is easier to work with the computer for the sketches. If I show you the summary file, is a very messy file. The starting file is completely messy. I don't know if you want to look at my secret files.
Well, thank you. I think we have to let you go in peace, because there is...
Alexander Nikolaevich, we have one another.
Последний вопрос, давайте. The last question.
Okay.
Marina wrote, Leonardo, please, if you can name 3-5 your favorite designers, those works inspire you.
No. There are so many. Contemporary or in the past?
I think she means contemporary.
Oh, there are so many good designers. Tony Brook of the Spin office in London, is very nice friend of me, and he's a really, really good designer. His office is very, very, I think, one of the top office, in my opinion. The other London office called a graphic thought facility, GTF, is very, very incredible. They did very incredible work. So this is true, but there are many, many. Unfortunately, better than me. That's true. This is very sad, but
Now, there is a sense in this question, because we don't know these authors because they are not yet in our textbooks. It's very difficult sometimes to trace new brilliant figures. And so you, as a man who has a wide audience of your clients, of your friends, you can give us some clues. And the names that you just mentioned is really very important. There is at last another last question from Angelina Tukulevich.
Yes.
Which I wanted to ask, yes.
Thank you very much for the lecture. It's just, I have one little question. You said that you're really inspired by the idea that two-dimensional design transforms into an object when it's in a material. And my question is, like, if this idea is so inspiring for you, and actually I like this idea too very much, maybe you thought about like the independent sculpture composition, or like as an art object. Maybe. Did you thought about that? It's just interesting for me.
What do you mean? Which object? With the sculpture?
No, like your work, like your design. Later, something in like independent sculpture way thing.
Have you ever thought of your works as an independent artistic object?
Yes.
That's the question. Or you always relate it to a definite client's commission?
Yeah, very much.
No, it's not me to decide if which is my role. I'm a designer. If someone thinks that I am an artist, okay. Okay, if you are an artist, probably the market and the gallery that decide that you are an artist. I could say yes, I am an artist because it seems cool to say I'm an artist. Probably cooler than to be a designer, but I'm not. For example, that's more interesting. I has been invited in a conference a couple of years ago about poetry. Visual poetry has been very, very important in my so for me to develop my idea about design. Visual poetry is very, very important. The experimental new avant-garde in the 50s or 60s is really important. And I has been invited, and this conference was about the visual poetry and so on. And they invited me, and I show my work as I show you today. Also the posters with letters and so on. The so-called independent poster, not without a client. And few of this critic and professor of poetry, of literature, define my work as me as a poet, and my work as poems. That's very nice. It sounds very nice. But and they invited me, considering my work a sort of contemporary expression of that kind of visual poetry, of the avant-garde. I like to play with words. Then, if they consider my work poems and they invited me in a conference, I'm delighted. I'm very happy, but I don't think to be a poet. But I'm not to decide. It's the other people that decide if you are. Also, if you are a designer, they are deciding.
Да, ну это такой, да, вопрос с продолжением. It's a question with a continuation. Thank you, Leonardo. We definitely need to let you go because you have plenty of things to do. And it was really a pleasure to see you and to have your commentaries on your works, which is incredible.
It's my pleasure. It has been my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to meet you and to meet students. I really hope to meet you again in Moscow.
Thank you.
We'll wait for it.
And of course, I am in Rimini. If you pass through Rimini, call me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Leonardo.
Bye. Ciao. Ciao.
Bye. Bye. Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao, Serge.